Well, the dumbest timeline. We go through the dumbest timeline. Is this truly the dumbest timeline?
And welcome to the second episode of the Dumbest Timeline Series 2. I wanted to tackle something that I find fascinating. This is easily one of my favorite subjects when it comes to AI, music production. So I did say in the first episode, one of the things I was looking to discuss the most was going to be AI and AI with creatives in creative spaces. For me, I work in music, for anyone who doesn't know, and I know that there is a world where, because I'll say it this way. What I do for a living, a lot of people believe you could use an algorithm to do what I do. And I've been doing my job as a music programmer for 7 years in my current job. Before that, I was a radio host and produced my own hip hop music show. Is it possible to just have an algorithm or an AI generate list? Yes. Would an AI be able to possibly, with more information, do a better job than just an algorithm? I believe so. Could an AI do a playlist exactly the way I do one for a client? No. There are specific factors that when I speak to a brand manager and I do my job, I take those into consideration when I'm programming. There are things that I understand about culture, society, and the industry that an AI won't understand yet unless you teach it. The idea is that the AI can catch up and be faster, but society is constantly changing. For example, I'll give you one example. In the scenario where an artist, a pop artist, was accused of something and their music was pulled from the system, but this artist is so famous and their content is so popular that once a year, some of their music is iconic for the season and almost always is used at that time of year. So I had clients that would turn around and ask to include that artist in their playlist at that specific time of year, even though months before we were asked to pull the songs by that artist from their playlist. But they got over it. Now, sure, if they wanted to, they could just ban the artist in a system and then unban the artist. And there you go. What I've seen on my end is this kind of disconnect sometimes, because a lot of the times with the brand managers and within the companies, there's one person telling me one thing and another person telling me another thing. And my job is to work with both those people and try and make sure everything connects. Whereas if you have one person dealing solely with an AI programmer and isn't on the ball, or I wouldn't even say it's their fault. They have so many things going on. Sometimes you need me to reach out to them to make sure that we're still on track for some of the content that I have to do. I have to do seasonal playlists. I have to do specific branding things. And if that person is, and a brand manager has a lot of tasks, so it's not only for them to have to do everything. And I think that we work as a team to try and set those goals together. And I don't see a world where the AI is doing that yet. So when it comes to music programming it, I still think you need a human element. And I know, of course, I sound biased because it's my job and it's what I do, but I can also speak from literally inside the situation to tell you, don't get me wrong, there are definitely tasks that the AI can do to help make my job easier, but I don't see it doing my job completely. And on top of that, the production and creation of music, that's the thing I want to talk about specifically today. So I'm going to try and keep it short. Like I said, I try to keep these under 20 minutes. Ideally, the goal is 15 minutes max. So let's get into it. Suno and Udio are two programs that are used currently in the world for us to make music. So I'm going to insert a small clip of a song that someone created, this DJ. I'm going to put all the information below because I'm going to credit him. And then I'm going to play you a clip of a song I created using Suno AI based off of this person's work.
Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Oh, baby, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. See me, y'all, see me, yeah, see me, yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Up on the natural charge, bon voyage. Yeah, from the home of the dog.
So that was the first clip. That's the second clip. What did you notice there? My second clip sounds almost identical to the first clip? Right. And that's a problem, isn't it? The reason it sounds exactly like it is because I was able to the original clip to Suno AI and ask it to extend the song. And it created a song based off of a prompt I put in where I described the original music. And it took elements of the original and what I asked for with the prompt, and it just made this new beat. And I used the word new very loosely because it's not a new beat. It recreated the original beat. And that to me seems like a problem. It seems like a problem that you can take a song, use Suno AI. And yes, I broke the rules for Suno AI to do this. It was a test. The reason I did it was to show that it can be done and that it's a problem in my eyes that it was done so easily. This all took me literally 2 minutes to do. I screen grabbed the original song from this person's Patreon that I paid for, then uploaded the audio clip to Suno AI, did everything I had to do, and told it extend the song, give me an instrumental, and it gave me an instrumental version of the song. 2, maybe 3 minutes. And I had a 4-minute version of the song I had already heard. That to me seems problematic, which is very interesting because Suno AI and Udio are both being sued by the big three. So I'll give you a quick summary. A lawsuit filed against Suno AI for copyright infringement by the major record labels: UMG, Capitol, Sony, Atlantic, Warner Music. Sorry, I'm just because this is a 34-page document, so I'm trying to scan through my notes that I have. Suno is accused of using copyrighted material to train its AI model. Suno's AI generated music files resembling copyrighted recordings. The plaintiff seeks injunctive relief, damages, and legal fees. Suno's services poses a threat to the music industry by flooding the market with machine-generated content. So this is what the plaintiff is saying about Suno AI. What legal action are the plaintiffs seeking against Suno for copyright infringement? The plaintiffs are seeking injunctive relief, damages, legal fees against Suno for copyright infringement. They are requesting a declaration that Suno has willfully infringed on their protected sound recordings and are seeking equitable relief to prevent further infringement. Additionally, the plaintiffs are pursuing statutory damages or actual damages and Suno's profits from the infringement. So one of the conversations I've been having with some of my friends with regards to this situation is a lot of people are saying that Suno and Udio will use the idea that they are allowed to scrape and train the AI to create a model. The problem is that in doing so, Suno and Udio turned around and started charging for subscriptions. If you start charging and making a profit and you scraped, you shouldn't be making a profit, first of all, because the idea was you scrape for training purposes and fair use purposes, but you can't claim fair use and then make a profit off of something. And I'm sure they didn't train their AIs on public domain content only. So, what are the allegations against Suno AI in the copyright infringement lawsuit? The allegations against Suno as the copyright infringement lawsuit include Suno has engaged in direct copyright infringement of post 1972 copyright recordings. Suno has copied and ingested copyrighted sound recordings owned by the plaintiffs into its AI model without authorization. Suno product generates digital music files that mimic features of the copyrighted recording, indicating unauthorized use for training purposes. So that's the notes I have for Suno. On the Udio side, Udio's AI music generating service launched in 2024 is accused of copyright infringement by training its model on plaintiff sound recordings. The plaintiffs in this one are the same Sony and so on the other side. Udio's output, Sway With Me, replicates Michael Bublé's Sway, leading to legal action. So one of the problems with Udio, from what I'm understanding, is theirs specifically sounds almost identical when people are creating content. Udio, by the way, is the service that was used to create the original sample for BBL Drizzy that Metro Boomin went on to make famous. So someone used Udio to make it The implication is that they wrote the lyrics themselves and used Udio to make the music. I think it's very easy. That's not for me to decide. I just find it interesting that they used Udio to make that song. And how does Udio's AI model generate outputs that mimic sound recordings in its training? Udio's AI model generates outputs that mimic sound recording in its training data through a process known as overfitting. This occurs when the model is closely adapted to the data it was trained on, making it challenging to generalize to new data sets. As a result, the model may replicate portions of its training data, leading to outputs that closely resemble the copyrighted recording used during training. This makes me think of when everyone started making those AI art pieces, and the AI art pieces would have the signatures in the bottom because everything it was trained on would show that artists were signing their work, and it was including that signature because it understood the signature as part of the art and not people marking their work. So similarly, if you were to train this AI on nothing but Dre Timbaland beats, you're going to notice that even though it would create a hybrid version, it's going to have elements of Timbaland style and Dre style. Suno and Udio obviously used the system, used all the music they could get their hands on to train their AIs. And I do find Suno super interesting. It is fun to play with. However, I do truly believe that the artists should be paid for their work. I think it's unfortunate that we are in a situation where once again, like I said in the first episode, and a very wealthy company, or I should say, well, I mean, in this situation, it really does feel like all the big players are fighting each other, because Sony, Warner, Universal are going to end up fighting with Suno and Udio. Meanwhile, I would imagine that the music on Bandcamp was also scraped, because that music is available. It's on the site. If you have an account for Bandcamp and you go in, you can listen to a lot of that music for free. You can listen to people's songs like a streaming service. So what would stop these two companies from scraping everything from Bandcamp? It's very likely that they did that stuff. But the majors are the ones that are going to go after them, and the smaller companies aren't necessarily going to have the same opportunities to protect themselves. So you, a young creative artist out there, has to wait until these big players make their calls and play the game. Do I think Suno and Udio are going to get shut down? Not at all. I 100% expect what happens is some kind of deal, some kind of arrangement where the majors and these two music AI creation companies get to do whatever they want. And I think that's unfortunate. I hope that we see a world, as I mentioned before, where the creatives get more control. But until we get there, unfortunately, this is the situation we are in. Once again, this is The Dumbest Timeline, Series 2, AI. And I will be back with another one. You guys can always check me out at all my socials on @BrianHolidae. That's HOLIDAE. And you can check out my other podcast, Geek Cypher, on geekcypher.com. GEEKCYPHA.com. I'll be back with another one. Peace.
The Dumbest Timeline, Series 2, AI, hosted by Brian Holidae. Produced by Brian Holidae for Brian Holidae Productions. Co-produced in partnership with Free X Agents Media. Theme song by Jasper Q. Jones. Mixing by Brian Holidae. Enjoyed the show? Follow this show on Spotify or review it on Apple Podcasts. Lastly, subscribe to The Dumbest Timeline on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening.